Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his right set on the bruiser.
Number one, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
His opponent, weighing 236 pounds in the white corner, from Van Nuys, California.
Welcome in to Retro Wrestling Rewind, episode number 18. I know, folks, you're saying, Happy New Year. This is our very first edition of the Retro Wrestling Rewind in the brand new year. It's the, as they would say, the year of the Lord. It's the year of WrestleCon 2019. We're going to be there April 5th and 6th. I'm going to be there Alex is going to be there April 4th, the Thursday through Sunday. So we are going to tear the freaking hotel down. It's going to be awesome.
I'm not going to wear pants the entire time.
That's awesome. And one of the guys that I don't know if he was going to be there, but unfortunately he is definitely not going to be there now. The great Mean Gene Okerlund. I just wanted to, kind of get your feedback, your take off the old broadcast hat, put on the old fan hat. What were your fondest memories before we get started today, talking about BunkHouse Stampede 1988 of Mean Gene Okerlund?
Well, I think Mean Gene was the voice of my childhood. He was exceptional at his job. He is the best backstage interviewer of all time, bar none. There's not anyone that comes close to him. So it's sad for me that he's gone, but his legacy will definitely live on. I got to meet him at a fan convention one time, and he's super nice to me, and he makes jokes like, "Hey," because my wife was with me. He's like, she's out of your league, pal," which was hilarious. And then he invited me for drinks afterwards. He's like, when's this thing over so we can get some drinks at the bar? And that was Gene in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely a legend. I mean, I remember back on when the network first started, they had that the Legends House. That was a terrible concept. I mean, they only had that one season, but I mean, he was the voice on. He did a lot of the voices on the WWE's their cartoon that they have on the network, and he
was working quite a bit with them as of late, doing a lot of the stuff for the network. But it also goes to show you like his impact and longevity throughout the business, starting with the AWA, going through the WWE, finishing up essentially in WCW. And he was a big part of why Vince's empire expanded because, if they didn't have Gene early on, he was one of the first guys to go. Like he was Hogan and then like Gene, like the same week almost.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. I mean, I remember watching a promo recent or a clip of him when he was in WCW. I think it was like Sean Stasiak and a bunch of other guys.
The Natural Born Thrillers.
And he was. He was in his element, and of course he did.
Well, they had him. He didn't turn heel at that point, but they were doing the Millionaires Club versus the New Blood thing, right? And obviously, him being older was part of the Millionaires Club, right? And he was feuding with Pamela Paulshock, which was the other WCW backstage interviewer,
who actually will be at WrestleCon. So.
Yeah, so you can take a picture of Pamela Paulshock, and you can get her autograph.
Maybe I will, but yeah, I mean, Gene Okerlund. I mean, he started out he was a ring announcer a lot of the time in the AWA.
He did commentary.
He did
a lot of commentary. People don't realize that.
He was a fucking good ring announcer. His voice just was awesome, and he was tell me what Hulk Hogan. It's like he did a lot of great interviews with Gene Okerlund. So did Macho Man Savage. I mean, it's just, he would definitely be missed. He was only 76, and
he was so witty, and like that's what wrestling is missing today is the characters.
Yeah,
Gene Okerlund was Gene Okerlund, and Gene Okerlund is a character, right?
Yeah,
Bobby Heenan was a character, right? But Bobby Heenan, the guy, is a character in real life as well. And I think in today's wrestling, they don't get the ability to show their character. To be in professional wrestling, to be a professional wrestler, you have to be a unique person just to get there, right? So just to get to WWE, you have to be a little bit weird, right? And you got to have a lot of, just kind of insatiable desire just to get to that level. And that's what makes people interesting, not whatever some writer writes in in some office somewhere in Stamford, Connecticut. I mean, they don't get to show their personalities. You see it a little bit with Kevin Owens. He probably has the most personality currently on that roster.
Yeah.
But you don't get to see that with everybody. Back in the day, because, there was no writers, these guys were just doing their thing. They're just being themselves, essentially, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, they were living the gimmick. I mean, that's what I heard, that he, lived the gimmick. But, he will, of course, sorely be missed. I mean, he was, like you said, he was the voice of our youth. He was the guy who did some great interviews, but, we'll definitely.
He had a run on TNT at the end of TNT's run, Tuesday Night Titans. He replaced Vince as the host of that show.
Yeah.
He's on every pay-per-view until he left. Yeah, he's on every pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely do a retrospective, since I was did the ring announcing back in the 90s, early 2000s.
It's on the national anthem of WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there. But there's a lot of things changing in 2019. I mean, this is the first episode. We're going to WrestleCon. It's a new year. Had a New Year's resolution. We got a custom theme song that you heard, bringing us in. It's like an old school theme song you're going to be hearing. There's a lot of changes coming in 2019, but the thing that will not change is that Alex G and David Fine have varying opinions. And my varying opinion on the very first edition of the Retro Wrestling Rewind, episode number 18 of the new year, is the BunkHouse Stampede 1988. What were your thoughts going in? I mean, looking back at the show, I mean, I know it was in your home Coliseum, the Nassau Coliseum, and we were talking off air that there's a lot of controversy that the place may have not been as capacity, capacity.
There's a couple issues. Number one, they didn't sell the fucking thing out. They only did 6,000 people there, which the Nassau Coliseum probably holds anywhere from 12 to 16, depending on the year. So the building wasn't even close to being sold out. Number two, I'm a native New Yorker. I don't think the average native New Yorker understands what a bunkhouse is. Not a lot of bunkhouses over here.
Well, I don't even
maybe upstate, but nothing, in the city, on Long Island, Jersey. Not a lot of bunkhouses out there. So this is not an attractive concept for us, although the bunkhouse Stampede was drawn all over the place for people who understood what they were. But I think if you're trying to bring in new fans, what they were trying to do at this point, I don't know, bunkhouse Stampede. That sounds weird to me.
Yeah, I don't even know I mean, and I'm from the South. I have no, and that's I'm closer to Texas, and you would think that would maybe be a Texas thing, but it was a dusty concept, correct?
Yeah, I mean, a bunkhouse essentially is where the guys who worked on the farm, like the farmhands, they would live in the bunkhouse and they would have fights there. That
seems like a better concept than this, but. The first match that you saw on.
Oh, we got to talk about the misprint on the tickets now.
Oh, yeah.
There were issues. Yes. There were issues because it was a 6:30 start time and it was advertised at 7:30. So the majority of the fans missed like the first half of the entire event.
And I mean, who is to blame for that? I mean, why? I mean, is that, you think it was a miscommunication?
That's local promoters, probably.
Yeah.
I would say that's not a Crockett at the Crockett office. This is probably whoever is their local New York promoter, and obviously they didn't do a good job because they only got 6,000 people. And this is, we're still, I wouldn't say the height of Crockett, but we're still up there.
Yeah, I mean, this is 1988. I mean, it is, it's kind of.
I mean, Crockett wouldn't be long for this world. By the following year, they're gone. But 6,000 people in the Nassau Coliseum isn't great.
No, and the first match you see on. At least the network version, and I think it's probably the same version.
I saw the Jimmy Garvin Sting versus Sheepherders match because I have it.
So tell people that don't have this exclusive footage that if you're a newbie to the Retro Wrestling Rewind, the great Alex G, he has a lot of exclusive footage of dark matches, and matches that you don't see on a regular net
stuff.
on net. Because I mean, I'll admit it. Most of our listeners probably watch the network stuff, and that's how I feel. What was your thoughts on this Sheep Herders Jimmy Garvin Sting match? I mean,
well, it was supposed to be the Sheep Herders versus the Rock and Roll Express, but the Rock and Roll Express left the day before, so they quit Jim Crockett Promotions the day before, so they're gone. So they put together a Sting and Jimmy Garvin, and Sting's pretty fresh in from the UWF, and Jimmy Garvin's not yet a rock star. So, this match was, average at best. It's nothing to write home about. It's, it's early Sting, and Sting wasn't necessarily the greatest worker of all time. And him being green is a recipe for disaster, although he was okay in this match. Sheep Herders are towards the end of their run as the Sheep Herders, and then we repackage and off to the WWF as the Bushwhackers, and Jimmy Garvin will go on to be a rock star, apparently.
I mean, he is a legitimate rock star. I mean,
he is not a rock star.
He asked Michael P.S. Hayes, he would say he's a rock star, but
what happened to Jimmy's hair? Have you seen a picture of him recently?
Jimmy Garvin's, no, but didn't he shave it? No.
He has no hair. And he did have luxurious fucking locks on. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, but he
had some dope hair. I wish I had hair like that myself.
I know, but I mean, of course, most people didn't see this match, but the first match most people saw was for the NWA television title, the great champion of Nikita Koloff taking on Huntsville's prodigal son, the great Bobby Eaton, with James E. Cornette in his corner. Of course, it was for the TV title. What were your thoughts on this? I mean, I never really...
Was Stan hurt? I don't understand what's going on here. Number one, was Stan hurt? Number two, isn't the Midnight Express the United States Tag Team Champions at this time? Why is Bobby Eaton going after the World Television Championship? Makes no sense to me. I'm not even sure why Nikita has that belt, first and foremost. Bizarre. But again, when you're influxing a lot of UWF guys on this show,
yeah,
and there's other shows around this time, house shows. Go to your history of WCW or whatever. Look at the house shows around this show. They're all fucking fantastic. And on pay-per-view, we get this piece of shit.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, it was just. I mean, this is
Bobby Eaton. We all love Bobby. He's fantastic. I don't know why this went to 20 minutes draw. He went 20 minutes with Nikita Koloff. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, it was when they said, "Hey, you're going to go 20 minutes." And it's going to be a draw.
Where's the rest of the crew?
I mean, and Jim Cornette is just, Jim Cornette. I mean, just.
Where's Stan?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe he was hurt. I mean,
Stan in the bunkhouse? Stan's not in the bunkhouse?
No, he's not. They're only, he was not in the bunkhouse, but,
this roster seems very thin, by the way, for them just incorporating all of Florida and all the UWF. This roster looks very, very fucking thin.
You ever notice back then, a lot of the NWA, WCW shows were short? I mean, comparatively, anything.
Yeah, a lot of them were 2 hours versus the 3 hours of the WWF shows.
Well, anything's short compared to that. I mean, they have a 5-hour pre-show.
Well, today, I'm talking back in the day, like that WrestleMania fucking 4 is long as shit.
Yeah, but it was good.
I don't know about that, boss.
What? Hey,
WrestleMania 4 was the tournament?
Yes, that was actually one of my favorite WrestleManias.
Go back and watch that Rick Rude versus Jake Roberts match.
I will do that.
Not fall asleep. That match sucks. And you would think it's Rick Rude and Jake Roberts, and that's before their feud. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, and speaking of them, that will talk about the TV title. I mean, it was a draw, 20-minute draw.
The unified TV title, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, in a previous
didn't he beat Terry Taylor for that belt?
He did. I think it was in a previous pay-per-view that we covered. They had a match, and for some strange reason, Nikita Koloff won. He's a unified champion. I guess the UWF didn't want to have a TV title. Next match, the living legend Larry Zbyszko with the very, at the time, vivacious Baby Doll.
Very thin Baby Doll.
Yes. Well, have you seen her? Anyway. Defeated.
I'm not going to go there.
Defeated Barry Windham. This was a title match for the Western States Championship. Larry won the title. He was super excited about it. I mean, what was the point in
I don't understand why they have. I know why they have this championship.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I don't understand why they have the championship. Because I understand that WCW, right, Crockett, the Wrestling Network, whatever you want to call it, at this point, they're running a lot of shows in the Texas area, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Crockett is about to move the whole crew to Dallas. That's a whole thing, right? That's a whole thing. So the Western States Championship is a kind of homage to the old Amarillo Championship, which was the Western States Championship. So that's why they have it. Why they put it on Zbyszko, who spent most of his time in the WWF and the AWA and sometime in Georgia, but he's a northern type guy. He has a northern type style of wrestling. Yeah, we're gonna put the Western States Heritage Championship on him. That's a good idea.
I mean, it was.
Barry Windham at least makes sense, and I think Barry Windham won that on a UWF show, like right when they took over.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, a lot of the titles that they had back in the National Wrestling Alliance. I mean, they had the Central States Tag Team Championship, the Mod Squad.
They absorbed all these championships, so they absorbed all these territories. So they got Kansas City and Florida. They already absorbed Georgia, the UWF.
Well, what? I was doing my research, I love to do research. I mean, and I was looking at some of the tag titles. They had like the NWA World Tag Team or tag team title that was only defended in Macon, Georgia.
Yeah, yes.
And they had it was just
they had city championships. They went like that.
What was the point of that? I mean,
there was like 4 NWA North American Heavyweight Championships. There was ones all over the place,
and they had like They had the Florida. It's just so many.
So they had a Florida promotion. They had to have a Florida champion.
Yeah, and speaking of that, coming up in the next 2 weeks, actually in 2 weeks' time after this show, in 2 weeks we're going to be covering the Championship Wrestling from Florida's Battle of the Belts #1. That was actually a really good show. I mean, it was mired. It's mired with technical difficulties because they had a hurricane coming. So, but I mean. It was,
Florida died in like 82, and this is what we got left. But they were able to put on a good show.
I thought it was better than this show. I mean,
because you have this weird bunkhouse Stampede match that Dusty Rhodes has won like the last 4 times before this.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that in a minute. I mean, the next match is for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Hawk. With Precious Paul Ellering taking on Ric Flair with the probably the #1 manager that I'm a big fan of, James J. Dillon, who also has a podcast somewhere, and it's actually, I mean, I've listened to it a couple of times, and according to Tony Schiavone, he falls asleep during it, but
I like his podcast. That's his podcast. You're not there to be. It's not a ha thing. It's not. You're not going to sit there and giggle or laugh at Tony Schiavone's dick jokes or laugh at Cornette having a rant. It's just straight information. So if you're a student of the game, you have to listen to JJ Dillon.
Yeah, I mean, well, I definitely listened to that show. I mean, that podcast. I mean, that's a match. I mean, did you ever? What was the point? Were they ever going to give?
This seemed like a match that you would see on the Great American Bash tour.
But what?
Like they would have those random matches on the bashes.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's Hawk versus Flair. It probably would have made more sense to have Flair versus Zbyszko here. Because Zbyszko spent so much time in the WWF.
Yeah,
it made more sense for Zbyszko to go after the world title here, but apparently Zbyszko and Flair didn't get along, so whatever. But we have Road Warrior Hawk here. Again, they split up the Road Warriors on pay-per-view. Oh my God, why would you do that? He cut a really scathing promo on TV before this event, and essentially, if you read between the lines, Road Warrior Hawk threatens to rape Ric Flair at the Nassau Coliseum.
Wow, that would not be good. But I mean, what was the point? I mean, was there ever?
They're trying to steal the house. That's it.
They were never gonna give the title to Hawk. I just don't understand. I mean, was he ever a singles champion?
No, he barely wrestled singles.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really weird. I mean, Flair can carry.
I would have said this at a certain point in time, both Animal and Hawk needed to split and be repackaged. That never happened.
No.
So by the time we got to the mid-'90s, they're fucking stale as shit.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. But I mean, your thoughts
But
on?
again, they're stealing. Tully Blanchard, he patented the phrase. It's called stealing a house. And what stealing a house is that you put on a main event or a championship match that has literally no payoff. So, for example, if you go to a house show in the main event, it's a 6-man tag with no belts on the line, they just stole a house, right?
Yeah.
This is stealing a house. So I think most people understand that Road Warrior Hawk was not beating Ric Flair, but he did beat him by disqualification. Yay!
Yeah, man, God, I mean, it's not as bad as.
Where's Ronnie Garvin?
I don't know.
Like, because this would be because Starrcade and the Bunkhouse were so close together, which is another probably a mistake here. This is their second pay-per-view, by the way, and you know what was airing the same night?
I'm sure it's a WWF show.
Yeah, the fucking Royal Rumble. The first Royal Rumble was aired on the USA Network for free.
And this was not aired for free. So.
No, this was on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, it
had full coverage, though.
I mean, what were you do you think that hurt? Yeah.
I mean, anytime we've seen it with WrestleMania 4 because again they put Starrcade as this is the revenge, right, for this.
Yeah.
So they put Starrcade, they put Clash of Champions on for WrestleMania 4, right up against it on free TV. Yeah. But the WWF did it first. But yeah, it fucking hurt him because Vince was pissed that he's running New York and putting that shit on pay-per-view. So he's not happy.
No, he is not. He is not happy, and he's going to do it.
But not for nothing. That Royal Rumble show is not good either. Like the main event of that show is the contract signing for Hulk and Andre too.
Yeah, I mean it was. I mean, do you think it was any
better? No, because it should have been like if you're on pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the first pay-per-view you did have full coverage because the WWF fucked you. This pay-per-view you have full coverage. What should be on this show is the main event. Yeah. 1988 probably should be either Ric Flair versus Barry Windham, your best match that you can have, or your two biggest stars, Ric Flair taking on Dusty Rhodes. It is neither.
Nope, it's neither. And the main event of the show is the fucking Bunkhouse Stampede Finals. Had Dusty Rhodes, Arn Anderson, the Barbarian, Ivan Koloff, Lex Luger, Road Warrior Animal, Tully Blanchard, and the Warlord.
Why is this match important?
The
reason why this match is important is that you have the Luger face turn out of this.
Yeah, man, but it was a terrible match. I mean, even
it was a fucking battle royal with the steel cage. Of course, it's fucking terrible. It's a fucking bad idea in general.
I mean, even a blind person could see that Dusty Rhodes was going to win.
But it drew money. It drew money every time they did it because Dusty would. The way they did bunkhouses, like they would have like 12, 14, 15 bunkhouse Stampede matches on all the house shows.
Yeah.
And then the guys in the finals, which this was, were all the winners. So you had Dusty won 1-1, Arn won 1, the Barbarian won 1, Ivan Koloff won 1, Luger won 1, Animal won 1, Tully Blanchard and the Warlord, they all won at least one. In some cases, these guys won multiples.
And actually, Dusty Rhodes, I think he only won one because he, when I was listening to it, they said that he won the final bunkhouse Stampede at the Omni in Atlanta. So I
think that's not the draw with Big Bubba Rogers, is it?
I'm not sure. I'm not. All I know is
that they tied or some shit. I remember that.
But I mean, the funniest part of this match was, at the end of the match, when Dusty throws out the Barbarian, and did you see how big that fucking boot was?
Yes.
I mean, what was that made for, a giant? It was.
Oh no, but we should text Cody Rhodes and ask him the location of the Bunkhouse Stampede boots, and not to book a Bunkhouse Stampede ever.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be booking a Bunkhouse Stampede in
imagine the Young Bucks and the Bunkhouse Stampede
in his new promotion. I mean, that's yeah, man. It's
that'd be awesome.
I mean, sadly, the Young Bucks would probably do it. I mean, it'd be a terrible. I mean, it could be a good throwback show. Kind of homage to his father. Bunkhouse Stampede.
Everything's coming back. Starrcade is back. Right, War Games is back. Right, Crockett Cup is back. Right.
Yeah, I mean, but Starrcade
is next. I know it's next.
Starrcade is back, but it's a fucking house show. I mean, they showed it once on the network, and they didn't even show the entire show. They only showed like 2 matches. It was or what were your thoughts going back to the bringing back of the Crockett Cup? They're teaming up with Ring of Honor. What were your thoughts on that? I mean, they're bringing it back.
I was excited. Very, very excited. I hope we see. I don't know if Frances Crockett's still alive. Hope she's out there. Hope we see David Crockett. Hopefully they get David Crockett to fucking announce the fucking thing, because that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be in Greensboro or one of those.
It's going to be at their ballpark, because here's the thing that people do not understand about the Crockett family. The Crockett family, one of their businesses is professional wrestling. But their entire business, they are Jim Crockett Promotions. They promoted other shit. So rock concerts, right? Harlem Globetrotters, the circus, right?
Yeah.
And they owned a minor league baseball team.
Yeah.
So when this shit got out of control with the spending, like, they weren't going to jeopardize their money, first and foremost. Like, I'm not going broke by this shit. And we're not going to jeopardize all our other business interests. So that's why they sold it to Turner.
Yeah, it was it should be a fun show. I mean, it sounds like I'm hoping to bring back the kind of the glory days of the old Crockett Cup.
I hope Road Warrior Animal and Sting wrestle in that. Like, bring back Rock and Roll can still go. So I'll bring back the Rock and Roll for that show.
Yeah,
you have to, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, but your overall rating and thoughts on on this show. I mean, it was
interesting. Cornette says the Nassau Coliseum always sucked in terms of a venue.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching back this show, and the crowd seems pretty juiced. Like, they're pretty excited for their show.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure like what he's talking about. And if you've ever seen WrestleMania 2, the Nassau Coliseum crowd turns fucking Roddy Piper babyface after his boxing match with Mr. T. So to me, it's kind of weird, because if anyone that says that the Nassau Coliseum is not a loud venue has never been there for a Ranger versus Islander game, because that shit is crazy. That shit, they call it the barn for a fucking reason, and it fucking rocks.
Hey, I mean, it sounds like you have some great memories from the old Nassau Coliseum.
Nassau's fun. I mean, because I can drive there, and you don't have to go through the city. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you can avoid going through the city is a good thing. But I mean,
all right, going to the Madison Square Garden is not bad, because all you gotta do is you jump on the train, you go to Penn Station, and the Garden's right on top of Penn Station. So you just go up an elevator. That's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's not bad. Going to the Barclays in Brooklyn, a little bit more difficult. If you have to, God forbid, drive into the city, it's not fun.
I mean, and getting to where WrestleMania is going to be this year at the MetLife Stadium, is that pain in the ass to get there too?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, because we're driving into the city from WrestleCon, right? So we're gonna be parking in their parking garage, which is fucking obnoxiously priced, by the way. Sorry, Hilton Hotel, but that's fucking insane, by the way. But I'll be driving from the hotel to MetLife, and MetLife is not far. Like, if you're at MetLife, you can see New York City, so it's not far. It's just you have to get to it.
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting. But I mean, rating
it doesn't rain like it did last time. It rained the last time at WrestleMania. That was not cool. It gets really fucking cold. Like, any people who may be coming from out of town, this is New York in April, and it's like February. It's fucking cold, so bring layers. You may want to put down the beer, get a hot chocolate. Treat it like a fucking football game up north. Because there's not a colder place. A Jets game is probably the coldest I've ever been in my entire life. Just treat it like that. We're off the water, so that wind comes in, right? Yeah, wind whips, right? And it makes it fucking 10 times as cold than what it actually is. So be prepared. Wear fucking layers.
Boy, it's a great a sales pitch for people coming to New York. But on a scale of 1 to 10 for this 1988 Bunkhouse Stampede, with the Bunkhouse Finals, Western States title changing hands, a draw for the TV title, what were your
the
rating?
Most important thing that happened on the show is the Luger face turn.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's not memorable whatsoever. I'd probably give it around maybe a 4 out of 10. It's not great.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 2 out of 10. That's just
that low. Huh?
Yeah, that low. But Speaking of something, before we wrap up this 17th, or actually 18th edition of Retro Wrestling Rewind, the thing that doesn't suck, that gets 100% rating every time, is your retro video game channel. How can anybody, if they're listening and they listen to the episode and they said, hey, I want to get something that's maybe different from what they're listening to right now, how can they get a hold of all that content?
Well, here's the thing. You want to go to YouTube, right? In the little search bar, just type in retro wrestling games, and it will take you right to us. We're the first thing that pops up in the search function. After that, please subscribe. Hit the little bell so you'll be notified every time a new video is up. Hit that like button. Hit that dislike button. Do a comment. You can call me an idiot if you like. It's fine, just as long as you write a comment, I'm fine with that. So, but check out the videos. We have over 255 videos. We have over 1,000 subscribers, and we have to date over 100,000 views.
Anything new and that you can kind of not break on the show, but anything new that's coming?
Well, we've been doing two things as of late. Our last NWA show went down in flames because when I recorded it, it came out all screwed up. So not only was it super modulated, static key, it was slow. So it had me talking like this.
That's awesome.
For some odd, it's so bad I couldn't fix it. So we're probably going to shoot a new show for that episode, and we talk about what if Bob Backlund came to Jim Crockett Promotions right after his world title run at the WWF. And my suggestion was you immediately put him in the program with Ric Flair, because you have Ric Flair, who is literally the Playboy, the Nature Boy himself, against the All-American boy, Bob Backlund. And then that's a perfect kind of, thing there. So we'll probably be reshooting that show shortly. In addition to that, since I got a Nintendo Classic for Christmas, I've been doing gameplay videos on the Super Nintendo Classic, and I got Spider-Man for the PS4 for Christmas as well. So I've been doing gameplay videos for those as well. So also be on the lookout for the WCW 1989 NES game review. That'll be coming out sometime in the not so distant future as well.
And I know that you had you were having a giveaway. I mean, has that been given away, or is that contest?
No, it's 64 days. So that giveaway will not be over until February. We are giving away a Nintendo 64, one controller, and a copy of No Mercy. So all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and DM me a screenshot of you subscribing to the channel on Twitter. That's all you have to do.
That sounds easy enough. Even someone this slow can do it. Anyway, but for the great Alex G., as always, I am David Fine. Next week, we go back 5 years and cover Starrcade 1983.
Worst main event of all time.
I was going to ask what your opinion of the show was, but obviously...
Worst main fucking event of all time. Maybe the worst NWA World Title change.
Well, hey, if you want to see, or if you want to hear why Alex G thinks this is the worst main event in the history of this great sport, you're going to have to tune in next week as we cover Starrcade 83. So once again, for the great Alex G, I am David Fine. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at the RW Rewind. That's also our website, the RW Rewind. You can follow us on YouTube to subscribe. It's the Retro Wrestling Rewind. It's not Retro Wrestling Rewind because there's another one. It's the Retro Wrestling Rewind. We'll see you back here next week when we go back in the Wayback Machine and cover Starrcade 83.